It's time now for Countywide, a special presentation of Yavapai Broadcasting News. Join News Director Paul David and News Editor Philip Catalfamo as they talk with our community's leaders, newsmakers, and people in the know. You'll hear about the hot topics in Yavapai County that affect all our lives. And now here's today's Countywide.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Countywide. I'm your host, Philip Catalfamo. I'd like to thank you for joining me. On today's show, we are joined by Copper Canyon Fire Captain Greg Hopf. And Captain Hopf has brought in some very incredible tools that a lot of our fire department and rescue services utilize on not necessarily a day-to-day basis, but it's a lot of the stuff that they have that we don't necessarily get to see. And if you do get to see it, I feel bad for you. But Greg, thank you very much for coming in and showing us all this equipment.
Thank you. Appreciate you.
So as some of you can see, we're going to have a lot of visual components to this show. So for those listening on radio, if you would like to see the visual component, please visit vertivalleytv.com or myradioplace.com to go watch that. But we'll try to be as descriptive as we can. So Greg, first and foremost, I mean, you guys are bringing a lot of equipment with you already. So when you're going out to a call, I mean, obviously some of this equipment isn't brought with you guys, but you do have it on hand just in case you need it, right?
Yeah, so all this equipment you have here in front of you is on our engines right now. All of our engines are equipped pretty much the same, so if we move around from engine to engine, all the equipment's going to be there. And there's a lot more than what you just see here. So
yeah, and I mean there's AEDs which we didn't bring in, which you can see pretty much everywhere. I mean, I'm sure there's AEDs at the Cottonwood Rec Center or any kind of local public area, which we don't have with us. We do have some fido bags, which we'll talk about in a little bit. We obviously have the Jaws of Life with us and some airbags, which we'll talk about those as well. But yeah, a lot of very interesting equipment. Some stuff you don't necessarily think about, but you guys really are kind of like you were saying it off air, a Swiss Army knife department, essentially.
Right, yeah. We, because we're so small and rural, we need to carry all types of this of equipment because we just don't know what type of call we're going to run into. Right. The Jaws of Life or the rescue tool, I said before, is I've used it to cut guardrail and the cattle guards to get a horse out before, all the way down to just small pieces of wire. You just never know, and we have a lot more of those rescue tools than what you see here. So.
Well, we'll start on the smaller scale. You brought in some fido bags, which are essentially the kits that are used for smaller animals during fires or any kind of, when there's any kind of like something in the air or something like that to help with them, give them oxygen. So
the Fetch Foundation was organized down in the Phoenix area. I'm not positive on the year, but they've donated fido bags to all the agencies, so all the engines here in the Verde Valley carry that fido bag. And typically inside that fido bag, you're right, it's on average, or what they've researched, is 500,000 family pets are affected by fire yearly, with 40,000 of those succumbing to smoke inhalation and that fire. So this fido bag, there's one component that's missing, is an oxygen cylinder that we can hook the bags to and give them oxygen through the mask. There's different sizes, and then inside the bag itself is instructions. There's
are here.
Yep. There's gloves for handling the pets.
Back here.
There's some wound care in there with some gauze and bandages, and some other splinting items in there.
Some leashes and stuff.
Yeah.
And some jelly for burns, I'm assuming.
Yeah, yep.
Yeah, these are, so this is, let me just show it here on camera. So it's a small orange bag, about the size of a regular travel bag if you're, to use for bathroom items or something like that. It says Fido right on the top, and like Commander or Captain Hopf said, the bag's just full, this is a little thing of gauze and bandages for the animals. We've got some leashes inside of the bag, but it's not a very large bag, relatively smaller, and then you've got this thing, which is an oxygen mask for larger animals.
Right.
And
it just fits over the muzzle of the animal.
I like to think that I'm a larger animal here. So if it's okay, I'm going to pull it out a little bit more here. I won't tear it open because it looks like it's not open yet, but this is kind of what it looks like. So you've got essentially...
it would be just like an oxygen mask that we put on a patient. Yeah. It functions the same way. It gives them 100% of oxygen off of our O2 cylinders. And as animals, they breathe much faster than humans do, so they take in that smoke a lot faster, and it doesn't take long for them to succumb to that. So if we can, in our searches, when we arrive on scene, we also look for pets. If we can get them out, we'll have crews immediately start working on those to get some oxygen going on those pets.
Well, I mean, obviously, there's the sort of like God, I'm losing my words here, but on the oxygen mask itself, it's got this black rubber piece, the seal, essentially.
Yep.
You know, you put the snout of the animal in, and then they can breathe in as much as they want to.
Right.
Is it a little difficult getting this on? Have you been on any calls yet to utilize the Fido bags?
I have not. I know that the City of Cottonwood Fire Department has used it successfully. Typically, if you're going to find that animal, they're pretty much down and out. It doesn't take long for them to become unconscious, essentially. But just to start getting that oxygen going back in, if they're breathing on their own, they're able to get that oxygen. It clears them up pretty quickly.
Now, how about this item here you've got right next to the Jaws of Life? It's some sort of device. I'll let you talk a little bit more.
This is our 4-gas monitor. It monitors when we have a CO call. We turn these on, we get them warmed up, and it measures, for example, if you have a CO alarm at home and it's sounding, we can arrive on scene, we'll get everybody evacuated out, we'll get these on, warmed up, and we can go throughout the house with our wand and check for the presence of CO, which is colorless and odorless. And we can check and measure that and make sure the space is able to be occupied. Then we can also search for the source of, it could be a faulty heater or a stove, and then we can get the appropriate folks out to get those repaired.
Are there any other post-fire items that you guys bring with you?
Yeah, so this is also used after an overhaul. So if on a small fire, maybe a room of contents that it didn't destroy the home and we were wanting to put the occupants back into the home, we'll use this monitor to go through and clear the home, making sure there's no other gases or anything like that that's going to be harmful to them before we turn that over to the homeowner.
Are there any other smaller items that you guys utilize and bring with you every day that, again, you don't necessarily use all the time, but you have?
Jeez, there's so much.
You guys still using axes?
Yeah, we have 2 different types of axes. We call heavy irons, which is a sledgehammer and a Halligan bar. Those are on all the trucks, on our ambulances. They're essentially another rescue tool that we utilize for entry and those types of things. So.
Well, and like I said, along with that, you've also got all the usual equipment you guys would bring in, your jackets, oxygen for yourselves, masks. Right. How much does all that stuff weigh? It's got to be like at least 100 pounds or so, right? Yeah,
so today's technology, that's getting a little bit lighter. Okay. So we're still pushing the 45 pounds, 50 pounds of gear with turnout gear, jacket, pants, boots, helmets.
I was a little over.
SCBA, yeah, it's they're getting lighter and more efficient for us, so we're not burning our guys out before we even get to go to work. So.
Right. Well, a lot of great stuff here. Again, Copper Canyon Fire Captain Greg Hopf here on Countywide, just showing us some of the rescue items and equipment that his department uses, a lot of other departments in the state and throughout the entire world use. And we're continuing to talk about that. We've got a very, very fun one coming up here in the Jaws of Life, so stay with us here on Countywide. We're going to take a quick break. We will be back with Copper Canyon Fire Captain Greg Hopf. Don't go anywhere.
Terrifying jobs. Bull Rider, take 2.
Cliff, this seems like a really terrifying job. Why do you do it?
I love protecting the bull riders when they get bucked up.
How big are these bulls?
12 to 2,200 pounds of pure muscle.
You're not cowed by any of this, obviously. Is there anything that scares you?
Yeah, distracted drivers terrify me.
Two things we can count on every year.
A new set of tax rules and great weather here in northern Arizona.
Jackson Hewitt Tax Service, locally owned and operated by Lewis Rice since 1997, is here for you all year long.
Your neighborhood Jackson Hewitt Tax Office will help you in all of your taxing situations.
Electronic filing is always free with your tax preparation at Jackson Hewitt Tax Service.
Get more in return. Call 1-800-234-1040 for an office near you.
The EPA says C&B Construction ranks in the top 1% nationally. C&B Construction invites you to see what energy efficiency and indoor air quality can be. We have won another Department of Energy Innovation Award, and C&B Construction is the only contractor in the country to win 6 consecutive EPA Indoor Air Plus awards. Experience our zero-energy, move-in ready homes at Crossroads at Mingus.
C&B Construction, locally respected, nationally recognized. Find out more at candbhomes.com.
Award-winning Soundbites Grill is an entertainment restaurant located in Uptown Sedona at the Hyatt Pinion Point Resort. Open for lunch and dinner, featuring fresh fish, all-natural hand-cut beef, even a full vegan menu. Family-friendly, open 11:30 to 9, late dining on Friday and Saturday. Soundbites Grill has some of the best views of the Sedona Red Rocks. Offers world-class entertainment, food, fun, and music.
I want to welcome you back here to Countywide. I'm your host, Philip Catalfamo. On today's show, we are talking with Copper Canyon Fire Captain Greg Hopf. Captain Hopf brought in some of the rescue equipment and some of the items that his department utilizes when they go out on specific calls. We've got a lot of great stuff. In our first segment, we talked about the fido bags. We talked about AEDs. We talked about a few of the more commonplace things that you'll see. But now we're getting into the nitty-gritty. We've got some of the big items that are utilized. I didn't get a chance to ask you this in the first segment, but here in the second segment, since we're working with a little bit more technical equipment here, and again, if you want to see the visual component of the show, please visit verdivalleytv.com, myradioplace.com if you are listening on radio. But now we're into the big stuff. And Greg, the training associated with, I can't imagine, it's probably very extensive.
Right, so every fire service personnel that works throughout the state of Arizona is required over 200 hours of fire and EMS type training. That doesn't include any of the specialty arenas, so technical rescue, swiftwater rescue, paramedicine, paramedic, hazardous materials, and then wildland is all the typical ones we see in this area. So that's added training on top of what we normally do. So our hazmat team and those techs go through training every year. They try to meet, I believe, around a 60-hour mark of extra training. And then our swiftwater and rope tech guys get an additional 16 to 24 hours every year in continuing education. So,
well, you talk about that continuing education. I mean, is there any point where these devices change the way that they're operated, where you guys have to learn how to utilize them differently?
Yeah. So the rescue tool here, the Jaws of Life, this is a relatively new tool. It's battery operated. It operates off of a lithium battery that you would find for a hand tool, a drill, or a sawzall. Most of our tools now are utilizing this battery. We have sawzalls, we have drills, and then the 3 rescue tools. Our gurneys use these batteries. So they're interchangeable. We carry an onboard charger on the truck that is charging 6 batteries all the time, and we're able to rotate those through. So the biggest change is it's an electric tool. Old tools in the past were hydraulic. Mm-hmm. We carried a hydraulic pump and hoses that charged the tool and operated like you would see as the Jaws of Life. Drawbacks to those, obviously, is the hoses and dragging those around. These are much more efficient and quicker.
Yeah, and you were saying you guys have an entire charging station up on the vehicles, so there's no worry of not having a battery. Right. This is one type of Jaws of Life. I know there are a few different ones. This one is more for cutting. What are some of the other ones you might see?
So we have a combi tool that's a cutter and a spreader. We have just a spreader, and then what we have is a ram, and that's to lift dashes and those types of things. So hopefully out in the field, if you are listening or watching, you don't get a chance to see these, and this is the only chance you see the Jaws of Life. But there's another interesting item you brought in, which are these airbags. And for, again, those of you listening on radio, think of a giant rubber square with a yellow X in the center and a hose valve poking out of it, like an air compressor hose. And we've got a smaller one here. Let me just grab it real quick so we can have a bit more of a visual aid. But
Can we talk a little bit about this bad boy?
Yeah, so that's our airbag. We have an airbag system. It contains of about, I think there's 8 airbags total, ranging from like a 4x6 type airbag to the large airbags. Therefore, when we have a collapse or when somebody's trapped where we need to move something heavy, that bag there you're holding is capable of lifting 17 tons. We use an SCBA bottle with a regulator that gets hooked to that, some hoses, and then a controller. And then we're able to lift, we stack those up underneath whatever we need to lift. The example would be a car that maybe got on a rock.
So these expand?
Yeah, they'll almost like a balloon, but it's a pancake basically.
Because you wouldn't expect that when you first look at them because they're so flat.
Right. That one will expand to about 8 inches of lift. And working pressure on those is 116 psi. It's all regulated through here, and we can lift it, quarter inch at a time. It doesn't take much to remove whatever the object is that we need, a person or a rock or whatever.
Yeah, you were telling me that, and obviously there are the extreme examples like utilizing for a structure or a house or a building. But you helped a kid not too long ago try to get out of a sticky situation.
Yeah, we had a young man that was playing hide and seek with his brothers and hid behind a propane tank and a block wall, and got into that just the perfect spot where he couldn't get his leg back out, and we were unable to move it with just hand tools. We used the airbag, and a half an inch is all we needed to move that propane tank off the young man's leg, and not injured, and he went on his way playing.
So very much kind of like a jack on steroids a lot.
Yeah, for sure.
What about mobility with these? I mean, obviously, when you've got one underneath a tire, moving it and adjusting it is kind of a pain, especially with all the hoses. I'm sure you have to deflate, move, inflate, and continue that trend. But, excuse me, how are these? How efficiently moved are these?
Well, so what we can do with these is we can stack them, and we can run 2 hoses off the regulator, so we can get upwards of 10, 12, 14 inches of lift if we needed to. As we're lifting, we're cribbing underneath of it. We're putting blocks up underneath of whatever the object is we're lifting. Right. So that way, if we need to move, we can let it back down on that cribbing, and if we need to move to a different area, it's pretty simple and efficient to move once we got where we need it to be.
Any other larger items like this that we don't necessarily get to see all the time?
That's our largest airbag there. Like I said, they go all the way down to like a 4x6 picture if we just needed just a little bit more.
So they really got really small ones then too?
Yeah.
For like windows or something?
Yeah, it's if you just need another half inch, that's you can put it in there just to get that little extra.
Yeah, a lot of very, very interesting items. Again, the visual component is on VerdeValleyTV.com and MyRadioPlace.com. We are joined by Copper Canyon Fire Captain Greg Hopf. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll continue talking about some of these wonderful items that he uses sometimes. But we'll be right back. Don't go anywhere, Countywide. We'll be right back.
Boxes everywhere, and this is gonna be Addie's room.
I think you're really gonna like it. I hope so. Yeah.
I know this road is there for me. There is a long way.
First night here, but Amy seems cool.
The ways down by the river. I am blind, but I need not see.
I got this.
I know it's there for me.
Okay.
If I'm really free, take me down to the river and wash me.
Your carpet is the largest air filter in your home, trapping dust, dirt, and germs from the air that your family members breathe, even the furriest ones.
That's why it's important to keep your carpet and tile clean and hygienic with regular cleanings by Zero-Res. Zero-Res uses state-of-the-art technology and ZR water, not soap or harsh chemicals, so zero residue is left on your home surfaces.
Schedule your appointment today because a clean home is a healthy home. Visit ZeroResNorthernArizona.com.
The mouth is the gateway to the digestive system. Studies indicate a correlation between oral health and full body health. Regular cleanings and checkups can help protect you. New patients are welcome at Arizona Smile Designers in Cottonwood. There's a full smile worth of services all offered under one roof. Whitening and cosmetic to implants and smile reconstruction. Find out more or request an appointment online at azsmiledesigners.com.
Welcome back to Countywide. On today's show, we are talking with Copper Canyon Fire Captain Greg Hopf. He has brought in some of the wonderful equipment and items that his department and many other departments utilize throughout the entire state of Arizona and probably the entire world. A lot of rescue equipment, fido bags we talked about in the first segment. We moved on to the Jaws of Life and these airbags that you'll see in the wide shot in just a second. But Greg, we're coming down here just a little bit. We want to again thank you very much for coming in and bringing in this equipment. I want to ask: are there any equipment changes that are coming up? Anything down the pipeline that you're excited about, or any equipment that you guys might be looking to get in the future?
Yeah, no, there's so much changing all the time. We're trying to keep up with all of those changes. Our PPE, our personal protective equipment, is constantly changing, and we're always trying to keep up with that. We have some new, the drone, which has been out, we have that drone, we have pilots that gets used. I wanted to bring that, but I'm unfamiliar with that piece of it. So, but as far as what we see coming up, it's just keeping up with technology and all the things that are new for us and keeping us safe is trying to keep up with that industry is rough.
And that's pretty cool. You guys got a drone. Is that like a special, like fire-resistant drone or something that can go into certain areas, or is it kind of like a drone anyone else would usually purchase?
It's a regular drone that's capable of infrared. It's got a light on it. We've used it in our swiftwater incidents. Bell Trail is one we've used it on to locate on the trail or see how far in our victim or patients could be. Yeah. It's a great tool. It takes you got to be a pilot, which it's pretty neat, and it's an amazing tool, and we need to use it more often. Yeah,
I'm assuming that's a great way, like you said, with the Swiftwater, you get a glimpse of the person, you know exactly where they are, then you guys are going exactly where you need to be instead of trying to search. Right. But what about inside the department? You guys got anything going on? Any other information?
No, we just opened up our third station on Cherry Creek Road in October. Amazing facility. Welcome anybody and everybody to come out and tour it and take a look at it. It's state of the art. It's a really, really neat station. It's going to provide services for many, many years into the future. So
yeah, that's excellent. If you do want more information about Copper Canyon Fire, their website, ccfmd.az.gov, is their website. Their phone number, 928-567-9401. And of course, if in an emergency, please call 911. Don't call the main office number. But Greg, we're still kind of in the transition from winter into spring. How's your guys' call volume right now? How are things just going in general around the department?
Yeah, we're exceptionally busy right now. COVID obviously is probably our number one. The cooler temperatures, we're seeing a lot more of the fireplaces and those types of things, so we always recommend those folks, if you do have ashes, the hot ashes, you put them in a bucket, a metal bucket outside, let them sit for 24 hours before you dispose of them. Other than that, just be safe.
Yeah. Well, again, if you want more information about Copper Canyon Fire, ccfmd.az.gov is their website. 928-567-9401 is their phone number. Greg, thank you again for coming in and showing us all the sweet equipment. I know there are 700 other items you would have loved to have brought in, but I really appreciate you coming in, and thank you very much for what you do as well.
Thank you for inviting me out. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Again, that is Copper Canyon Fire Captain Greg Hopf. I am your host, Philip Catalfamo, wishing you a great rest of your week. We'll see you again next time.